Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Follow Suit Fashion Unfiltered. And to all my first-time viewers, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of what Follow Suit is all about. Follow Suit is a mantra, meaning to follow the suit. And as you follow it, you're going to come to realize the suit is a role model and a mentor whose purpose is to give guidance to the young men of this community and as well as to society. And it is my goal to honor and salute some of the individuals who not only put on the suit, but they wear it well. Hence the point, my guest today, Cedric Maxwell. How you doing, brother?
Fine, young man. How are you doing?
And should I say my guest today, a Boston legend, Cedric Cornbread Maxwell. How's everything, sir?
Everything is just fine, man. I can't complain. Life is good.
Oh, all right. So, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to stop through. This is especially an honor for me to have you here, and I just want to thank you once again for coming through.
Well, man, we can take this thing easy because we're talking about fashion.
Okay.
And that is one thing I grew up with. I grew up seeing my grandfather back in the 50s, early 50s, and then after that, my mentors when I got to the Celtics, like JoJo White, who was one of these well-dressed men. So it was one of those things that just kind of fell in line for me.
Okay, nice. So let's take you back, and we'll start off talking a little more with the fashion. So, do you have a favorite designer that you like to wear as far as when it comes to suits?
Me?
Yes.
Me and me. That's
me
it.
And me?
Me and me. That's it. I've been having my clothes made for the last, I'd say, 25 years, and I found a way that I get my material from Italy. And I have a tailor in Korea. So get the fabrics, the swatches, and look at the latest styles and see things that I want and kind of go from there. And, some of it's hit, some of it's missed, but right now, pretty much traditional. I stay with I do some double-breasted, do some single-breasted. I haven't gotten to the skinnies.
Yeah.
And I don't plan to get to the skinnies.
So growing up as a young man, is like obviously you're an athlete, you play basketball, so I know you had coaches who have been mentors and father figures to you. Was any one of them inspired you in that direction that brought out some of the fashion that you have?
Not really. And most of the coaches were not dressers back during that time. They put on a tie, but maybe there was one. It could have been, his name was Major Boyd, and he was in Kinston, North Carolina, where I was born. And I think he was like a PE teacher. But I remember he had on a blue pinstripe double-breasted suit, and he was actually at a funeral.
Oh, yeah.
And my mother left there talking about this one. So, oh, my God, the suit he had on. So maybe Major Boyd would have been the person that would have been that person I looked at and went, man, see what fashion does when you go out.
Right. So, pinstripe. Do you like the pinstripe? Do you like the window pane?
I'll do pinstripe. I'll do window pane. I'll do subdued. I can do solids. It really depends on where you're going. I mean, because if there's like today, for you, it was more of a pinstripe business. Sometimes at the game, I might wear something different. I think every year I've always had this, I've had a white suit that I wear to the game. And, man, people just go crazy. Tied up with a white shirt. I have these, these brown ostrich shoes I wear with it, nice tie. And I think the last time I wore it, actually, the Celtics were in the playoffs. And after the game was over, I went out on the court with some friends of mine. And the camera guy, the game was over, but this cameraman was going up and down. I'm like, what is this? And all of a sudden I realized that I was on Turner with Shaq and Charles Barkley. And they were looking at my fashion. And they were like, man, that's a clean man. So I just loved it. I think it's just funny when you think about fashion and what you wear.
All right. So, we was talking off camera a little bit, and we was talking about shoes. And so, who's your favorite shoe?
McNanny and Meslin, my two favorites. Those would be my go-to.
Got a nice pair on right there.
Yeah, see, we both wearing.
I got
both
some more.
wearing.
Yeah, great minds think alike.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Meslin. I really like McNanny. And I think most of the time I'm going to get a pair of McNanny. It won't be directly from the McNanny place. It will be maybe from Nordstrom's Rack, could be Saks Fifth Off, something like that. And that kind of subdues the price because, you know, if you get McNanny's from the store, you're talking $450, $600, $700. Where if you get it from the Rack or someplace like that, you can get a good pair for about $200.
Right. So that's another thing. See, a lot of people, they think because when they see me and I'm dressed, you know, to impress, as you would say, people think you got to spend a lot of money. Sometimes you don't have to spend a lot of money if you go to the right places, right?
Well, that is true. And my buddy, you might need to get him on if he lived here, but he's actually out of Washington, D.C. And when I talk to him, the thing he loves is he loves thrifting. He's a thrift store man.
Oh, yeah.
So he'll go to a thrift store in a heartbeat, and he will come out with flat fronts, skinny pants, all these different things. So it's really funny to see. You don't have to have, a lot of money. You could also go to some of these Salvation Army where people have given clothes away, and you can have those clothes refitted for yourself. So you can pay pennies on the dollar for a really good suit if you wanted to.
Right. So y'all pay attention, everybody. See, I got a man here who probably has a nice, substantial amount of money, but he knows what to do with his money. And some guys always use the excuse, they can't afford it. Oh, I can't get dressed like that. I can't afford this or that. But if you take your time and you look in the right places, it can be done. So, it's not that hard.
No. It's not a hard process. I think that you think about clothes. Like I'll have a go-to. You might do socks. You might do a white shirt. There are different things that you will end up doing. So it can really change when you think about what you're going to wear.
All right. So, like I said, the show, we're here to salute, honor people who've been in the community, as well as we're here to try and inspire today's generation who seems like it's a lost art of dressing like men, So that's part of the subject we want to touch on. And what is your opinion about that?
I think guys dress now, it kind of comes and goes. It's gotten away from the hip-hop style now. And I think you'll see a lot of guys, if they're out now, they'll have on a nice suit. They'll go the real skinny route. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it depends on who you are. I think sometimes your build, whatever your build is, like a skinny suit for a smaller guy, that works.
Right.
Or a skinny suit for a big guy, that don't work. It's not a look. I don't want my jacket, coming right here at my waist like a maitre d'. Right. So I have certain fashion things that I talk about. I normally like my jacket, if I cuff my hands at the bottom of my jacket, I should be able to get that feel right there. Sometimes I might do an inch or two higher now that jackets have gotten a little bit smaller. I love a double vent if I'm going to wear it. I love a pinstripe. I love, the notched lapel like you're wearing. Single breast suits I love, but double breast suits to me are a lot more classy, but you can only wear them when you go someplace where you don't have to sit down as much. So if you're going out someplace, the double breast suit is good. But if you're going to a business place, you're always, buttoning and unbuttoning your jacket.
Okay, I want to spin to a topic. See, I know you had the legend Tiny Archibald on the podcast that you do. What's the name of your podcast that you do?
The Cedric Maxwell podcast.
The Cedric Maxwell podcast. So I actually caught it one time, and you had Tiny Archibald on there. So the question I wanted to bring up too is about, because we're here talking about supporting the community, giving back to the community. And he made a great reference when he was on your show about when he came to Boston, he stayed in Roxbury, Dorchester. He was known. He was a fixture in the
Tiny
boys club.
Never left the hood. Okay, he was always talking about the Boys and Girls Club. He would constantly be over there in Roxbury. He was mentoring people. He had people that he knew over there. So he was probably of the people that have, I'd say players that have been in Boston. I say Nate Archibald might have been he might have been the closest one tied to the community I know that's been around here.
Yeah.
Because he just really loved the opportunities of getting people involved in the Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan area.
Yeah, and it's funny because even my producer who's off camera that you can't see, he still has his Tiny Archibald shorts from playing in the league at the boys club.
Well, I can see. Tiny was he was a philanthropist. You know, he would give people different things. He was always supporting causes. So I did love that about Tiny.
Yeah. So you think that might be a loss out here, maybe in Boston, as far as athletes? There's not so much being established in the community like they was back then, like Bill Russell and all in the barbershops. There was barbershops, they owned bars, you know, the talk of the town. You could go and talk of the town and you guys were there getting your haircuts. You know, Slaves. Bill Russell owned Slaves.
Did at one time. Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, and you fast forward, you think they've gotten away from that with supporting the communities. Like, it's good to give back in your own place, but if you're going to be here 10, 15, 20 years.
I think players do it in a different way now. I don't think they have as many businesses independently because they don't have the time to stay at the cash register or stay in a business setting. But I think that they do a lot of support through the Boys and Girls Club, through different venues. I think that, you know, they're very much well connected. You know, I remember Paul Pierce doing things. I remember Antoine doing things. But it's a different time, right. And it's a different way of being involved in the community.
Right. So you talked about some of your coaches, and you talked about, so you was a young man. How old was you when you got drafted?
I was 20. I got to Boston. I was 21 years old.
So we was talking off camera, and you said there was no young guys on the team when you got to the team, and you said
no young guys at all. I mean, the closest guy to me was in his maybe 4th or 5th year, and that his name was Tom Boswell. I think he was in his 5th year, but everybody else was like, you know, 8th, 9th, 10th year. So I didn't have you know, anybody really to just bounce ideas on. I'm a little closed in, so I didn't do a lot of venturing out. As a matter of fact, I was shocked to find that there were so many people of color in Boston until I went into Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. I was essentially with the Celtics. I was at the Garden. We were in Burlington where we practiced. I lived in Brookline at the time, so I didn't see a lot of people of color during that time. Right. And then all of a sudden I met a couple of people, and they took me to Roxbury and Dorchester and Mattapan. I was like, wow, I see where the peeps are now.
All right. Yeah, so you saying, you said JoJo White was like the guy with fashion for you back then?
JoJo was. This would be a JoJo White suit. He would be pinstripe. He would be, and it's so funny, later on in life, JoJo's last couple of years, I happened to make JoJo clothes. Right. That I was doing stuff for different people. I've done stuff for Will Downing, the singer. I did stuff for Robert Parrish. I've done stuff for Dennis Johnson. I did stuff for Chief. Did for Chief. I did for ML Carr. So yeah, and JoJo White. So I've done a lot of stuff, you know, when it comes to fashion, of just trying to focus and give people a certain element.
All right, nice. Learn something new every day. So your secret, you're the undercover tailor.
could be. I mean, could be. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the, you know, especially when it comes out right for you. You know, right. Sometimes and you know, we all put on a little bit of weight, so we might have to open up something here, open up something there. Right, so, you know, I think that's the biggest thing. Matter of fact, I am on a mission here, probably within the next 6 months of I've just hired me a trainer. So I'm on a mission to get back in shape so I can get back into all the clothes that I bought.
Yeah, we all guilty of that pandemic.
Yeah.
The pandemic weight right now. That's what I call it. I got my pandemic weight going on.
Man.
So let's talk a little bit more with the Celtics. So you said 1977.
Got here to Boston in 1977 and played here until 1985. So those were fun opportunities for me. Being here with the different guys and ultimately winning a couple of championships in 1981. Won the first championship, then turned around in 1980, 84. And then the thing is really funny about it, well, how I hear that you were such a Magic Johnson fan, and the guy that I actually hated, and you're like saying, man, I love Magic, but it was always so funny that you'd have people of color. They more or less supported other teams than they did really the Celtics. And although we were a black team and a lot of black players, I think people still identified us as a white team.
Yes, back in that era, definitely. Mm-hmm. Like you said, in 81, you was the MVP of the finals. Mm-hmm. And then like we just talking off camera, one of my best moments was in, you said Game 7, 1984?
84.
Against the Lakers. Mm-hmm. And you was, as they say nowadays, you was in your bag.
Yep, I was.
You was in your bag, and you was on a breakaway, and you was so much in your bag, Worthy pushed you from behind.
Me and James talk about that today, and we laugh. It's like dudes who you were combatants with now. James Worthy is in broadcasting. I'm in broadcasting. I've been broadcasting now, doing radio broadcasting for the Celtics for the last 26 years, and also involved in television, doing Comcast and now NBC, having my own podcast. So I have a lot of things that I'm doing right now.
We're in a lot of hats now.
And
you're still a fixture in the community. Like you said, you can go out and see you. I see you. I go to Scullers. I see you. I see you at Scullers. I be different places. I be seeing you. You're a fixture in the community, and you've always been a gentleman. You've been a role model. And that's why I got you here, and I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you. I mean, it is always like you're saying your mantra, talking about how suiting and booting, and it's like today. I remember early this morning, you texted me early this morning, and I asked you. I said, "What's the attire?" And you like, "Come suited and booted." I said, "Okay, I can do that." So that I've always, I go out and. This thing at 80, I would do 81. Well, probably about 100 games a year. So I'm suited and booted for 100 games a year.
There you go.
And then if I do anything else, so I'm probably wearing a suit probably about 150 days out of a year.
Right. Okay, so now I'm gonna spin into we was talking, so I'm gonna tell you the story. So at the time, it was a little over a decade ago, a little longer. And so I was getting out of prison.
Okay. And
so I'm having a conversation with my wife, and I'm trying to find out where to go to get clothes and stuff. And then she was like, "Oh, Nordstrom Rack." She said, "You go to Nordstrom Rack and get the suits." And she said, all the guys, go to Nordstrom Rack and get the suits. She said even Maxwell be in there all the time getting suits. That's Maxwell's spot. He goes in there and he gets suits, Nordstrom Rack. So I'm like, Nordstrom Rack. At the time, I didn't know about Nordstrom Rack, because when I used to came up, they said Filing's Basement, Milton, Sims, and all those good spots like that. So the day I get out, we go to Nordstrom Rack. When we go to Nordstrom Rack, who's over in the suit department? Cedric Maxwell. Wow. And I came over and I introduced myself to you, and they said, "How you doing?" It's just so funny that happened way back then, over a decade ago, and now look at us today. We're suited and booted right here together. So it might have been destined.
Yeah, destiny would have been the one. I always say, and that Nordstrom Rack probably saved my life. And you say, well, how did Nordstrom Rack? Well, I was at the Boston Marathon at the bombing.
Me too.
And
I was working.
I wasn't there working. I was just there at the finish line. And probably 10 minutes into it, about 10 minutes before that bomb went off, I was like, yeah, I'm a little tired. I walked down to the rack. And I'm upstairs, picked up a pair of shoes. I hear an explosion. We all go, we look outside. It's like, I don't know what that was. Then we hear another explosion. People start moving fast. And I was like, found out later on that the two bombs had exploded, and it wasn't that far from where I had been standing. But because I wanted to go down to the rack, I tell people today, the rack probably saved my life.
Saved your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. You know, yeah, that's a day in history, the marathon, the bombers. Yeah, I was working that day.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for the city of Boston at the time. That was my assignment. We had the assignment for the week for the marathon for that weekend. You work Saturday and Monday, or you work Sunday and Monday. That's how it was set up. And so we had a bulletin board with everybody's assignment. And on my assignment, it said finish line.
Wow. That's strange.
And it just so happens that we couldn't get down. And by the time we got all our equipment and trucks out to go on that day, I was there, worked it on Saturday. On that Monday, I couldn't get back down there. So we had to park a couple of distance away, so I wasn't at the finish line, and I was pissed off the whole day about not being at the finish line.
Well, sometimes God works in His own way, and for me, like I said, if I had stayed 10 more minutes, who knows, what that situation would have been for me.
Yeah. So I guess it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it is. It is a true blessing when you think about who you are and what you've done, and like you said, your accomplishments and things you're doing now, and how your life has changed. How you were in prison and how you're out, and how now you're affecting in a whole nother atmosphere. And I think that to me that is the genius of it. The people who have walked that line and who have been there before, and that you're now able to steer younger people away from that and get them to do something that is going to be positive in their life.
Yeah, so that's our goal. That's what we're here trying to do, So that's what Follow Suit's all about. We're trying to inspire young men, trying to change minds and affect lives, and at the same time teach them to dress for success.
It's a beautiful thing.
And I appreciate you being on the show, taking time out of your busy schedule, and I learned a couple of new things, and it had to be meant to be, because we're right in the same alley. We like the same thing. We like to bargain shop. We like to stay suited up, the whole 9 yards. So this was destined.
My brother, it was a pleasure to
my
be
pleasure,
on anytime, and thank you very much for having me on. And
I appreciate
much success to you and your ventures, and I just hope you just grow with your business.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
All
right, we're going to wrap this show up again. Once again, we're here to affect lives. This is Follow Suit, Fashion Unfiltered. I appreciate everybody. We'll be back with more episodes.